All right, so y'all know what time it is. It's one of our favorite times of the show. It's the Week 4 preview of the NFL. We just talked about New England and Tampa Bay, so we're gonna try to not bore you with that over again. But a couple of games I wanted to mention. We got the 3-0 Carolina Panthers versus America's team Dallas Cowboys. Um, then we got the big, which I would consider this the primetime game of the weekend. If you take out Tampa Bay and New England, we got Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams, which probably the fight for the division, if you ask me. And then we got the real Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the Green Bay Packers. So, with all that said, what say you, Jay? What you looking for in this Sunday's action?
I'll start in Dallas with that with this somewhat surprising Carolina Panthers at 3-0 taking on Dallas. They give Dallas 4.5 in that one. So it's pretty good considering Carolina's been fantastic so far. They got the number one ranked defense, I believe. We saw how good they were on Thursday night against last Thursday night against Houston. I know it's Houston with the rookie quarterback. I get it, but I mean they pulled the same trick against the Saints, and of course they a little bit too much for the Jets as well. This is definitely going to be a different challenge. So we'll see how that revamped defense does. Remember, no J.C. Horn, he's out now, so that's going to make it somewhat challenging. And we know Dallas got one of this is a really good offensive football team. I think the past couple of weeks they've done a lot better. They've been more committed to the running game, which has made them more balanced and made them more unpredictable. Unlike that Week 1 performance against Tampa Bay, where you got 58 passes and 11 runs. That's just not it, guys. But they've corrected that. I think that's something they need to continue. I think they'll be better if they maintain that sort of balance. So that one's very intriguing. I am a little surprised that the line is that big because Carolina's been highly impressive. But that's going to be something. It's definitely which style is going to prevail. I think the X factor is probably going to be Sam Darnold. Can he continue his fine play so far? I mean, the numbers haven't been big, but the one number that's probably the most key for a team like this is the turnover numbers, and he's taken care of the football quite well so far. So I think that's gonna be a really fun one to watch. I'm looking at Denver Baltimore. That should be a really fun game. Two of the more I'd say physical teams at this stage of the game. Denver's defense, you talk about Carolina's defense. I think Denver's probably been the second best defense thus far, and really not all that surprising. Von Miller is back. In case you didn't know, he's got 4 sacks this season so far, at least one in every game. And he's look, Denver's defense, they'll have their hands full. We know how electric Lamar Jackson is. He has been a little bit, he's dealing with some sort of back issue, but as far as I know, he will play. But I think it's going to be a really intriguing matchup because Lamar Jackson, Vic Fangio, what does Vic Fangio throw at Lamar Jackson? We've seen some really good defensive minds be able to make things very difficult for Lamar Jackson if they come out with a defense that, they just able to be disciplined in their lanes. They keep their containment, set the edge. And if they do that, sometimes Lamar Jackson has some real difficulty, beating you from the pocket. So I'm really interested to see what Vic Fangio has in store for Lamar Jackson. And then the same exact thing on the in this game as in Panthers Cowboys. What does Teddy Bridgewater do? He's been tremendous in the first 3 games so far. You talk about a guy, just playing within himself, taking care of the football, but also playing, extremely well. He's managing the game, doing more than managing the game. He's still trying to work Cortland Sutton 100% back in there, but Tim Patrick's been really good. They're down a couple guys right now in the receiving game with Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, but you still got Noah Fant. You got a good 1-2 punch with the rookie Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So I think that's going to be a great game. It's the only pick'em game this week. And it's Denver's first big test. We've seen Denver. They've taken care of they beat the Jets last week. They beat Jacksonville. They beat the Giants. None of those teams have won a game. So you talk about is a team for real. We talked about it with Cincinnati. We'll see how real Carolina is. This is the first big test for Denver. I think they'll fare very well, and I think they'll end up winning the game. I think they're good enough to get it done. And then the other one I'm looking at is I think Seattle and San Francisco. That's a pretty key game early on in the NFC West. with Seattle. I don't know what's gotten into them the past couple of weeks, but all of a sudden they look like the team that at this point, you lose this game, you're going to be 1-3, and you can't afford to get too far behind with teams like the Rams and the Cardinals. They're 3-0. One of them will lose, but those teams look real. You lose to San Francisco, I think you put yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit too much. So, I hope Seattle comes out with a little more fire and desperation, because the last 2 weeks they've looked pretty ordinary.
Do you think Seattle is the worst team in the NFC West?
It's hard to say at this point. I mean, something tells me like there's something, there's a little fool's gold going on with Arizona. I know Kyler Murray is playing out of his mind right now, but there's something that tells me that they're going to fall back a little bit this week. It'll definitely we'll definitely should know a lot more about them after how they do against the Rams, because we're both feeling the Rams right now. But I don't want to take too much away from you in that game. But as of right now, Seattle does look like the worst team right now in that division. I just think over time, I can't imagine that continues, but we're gonna have to see.
I'm gonna say, just starting off with that, I'm gonna say Seattle is the worst team in the division, only because when you look at those defensive numbers, they're not pretty, folks. They're not pretty, especially you think they got the likes of if you took Jamal Adams and got Bobby Wagner out of the mix, like them only 2 consistent players they got on that side of the ball. The rest of the defense ain't up to snuff. I haven't seen Seattle play defense this bad since in the Pete Carroll era. I know, years ago it was like, oh, well, Seattle defense ain't as good as it used to be. Didn't really mean it wasn't good. It just wasn't as good as it used to be. It wasn't the Legion of Boom. Now I'm like, this defense is just not good. Not as it used to be. They're just not good. So that's I think Seattle right now is working to be the worst team in the NFC West. Now, let me go ahead and scroll on over here to this Panthers and Cowboys. I talked about Matt Rule in the early segment, giving him his flowers for the job he's done with the Panthers. I think it's remarkable what he did with his coordinators that done, et cetera, 3-0. And now you traveling down to the $1 billion playpen, as they call it, Arlington, Texas, to go get you some of that Dallas Cowboys sauce. And I do think I agree with Vegas. I take the Cowboys in this game. I think the Cowboys will win this game. I'm gonna say probably, maybe 2 field goals, 6 points, something like that. And the reason being, Carolina lost their number 1 cornerback, J.C. Horn, as you brought up. And I want to see now. Yes, Carolina, they was playing well when they had all their pieces. They starting to lose pieces now. Can you play now that you're losing pieces? Because now you lost J.C. Horn. You lost Christian McCaffrey. It's starting to, I want to know how Sam Darnold works under that pressure now. You don't got your bell cow no more. You got, I think it's Chuba Hubbard, the guy from Oklahoma State.
Chuba Hubbard, yeah.
There we go. You got him. We don't know what he can do. We don't know if he can carry the mail. It's probably a reason we don't know, though, because it was probably a reason why they split the carry 75% to 25% or something like that. I don't know if it's because of his talent or just because of Christian McCaffrey's contract, but I think it was a reason why the carries are split that way. Now we're going to see what you can do, without your security blanket, per se, to me, back there in the back. Dallas, listen, their offense, even with the offensive line not being playing up to snuff that we used to them playing, their offense still can move the ball up and down the field. Like, now that Zeke is re-engaged and Tony Pollard is making the best of his snaps, then you got CeeDee Lamb just all over the field. You got Blake Jordan. You got the worst wide receiver for them in the last couple of weeks been Amari Cooper. I mean, and people not even losing sleep over it. I haven't heard the sky ain't fall yet. Because CeeDee Lamb has been just so good for them. I guess they just kind of Zeke. We got Zeke back. We got CD. Hey, Amari, if you want to play, let us know. We got
join
Blake
in,
Jordan.
yeah, join in whenever, man.
You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it, man. Hey, listen, we know everybody got to participate, so we get 100 on this project. But we know some people ain't gonna participate, right? We just sign it, man. Just sign it. It's fine. So, with what I've seen out the Dallas Cowboys offense, this Panther defense better be up to snuff as they have been in the first 3 weeks. This is by far their toughest test for their defense. This is by far their toughest test. I don't think they played the offense as good as this at all this year. So I think this is their toughest test. And then the Dallas Cowboys defense. Here's the deal. I know it was just the Eagles, and I know I got it. It was just the Eagles. But that defense, it already looks 5 times better than the defense looked at last year. At any point last year. At any given point, their defense did not look this good at all last year. The secondary seemed to have their head on straight. I kind of like what the defensive line doing without their highly paid leader, DeMarcus Lawrence, up there. Hey, you got a bunch of guys that you can get rid of at the end of the year. They up here making some plays. I'm just saying they making it happen. And the one thing that really impresses me about Dallas, and I'm gonna say this until I can't say this no more, they have a rookie in Michael Parsons that called the plays for the defense.
Right.
That says so many good things about that kid, man, that he's a rookie, he's coming in. And I know a guy hit me with an argument. He was like, well, he could be the future. They could be starting early. Well, they're not. First of all, he's a rookie. You got like 5 dudes on the defense that get paid more than him. So usually the guy that get paid more is the guy with the most responsibility. Usually, unless, they just don't hack it. You got DeMarcus Lawrence getting paid what he getting paid. You got Jalen Smith getting paid what he getting paid. Shouldn't one of those guys be the signal caller? No. We'll get Michael Parsons. We'll get the rookie.
That was immediate too. We noticed that in week 1.
Right. Is that the green dot? That's the green dot. All right, then. That's the green dot. So, and on top of that, because he's so well versed, he play like multiple, positions without the game.
Right.
He'll start on the end and then be in the middle, then be an inside linebacker. And then the guy is the goods, evidently. And, I always was a fan of him. I was hoping he came over to Alabama, but, he stayed over there and did his thing on the East Coast. So I think that's impressive. So with that said, I'm with Vegas. I think Dallas do win this game, and I think the Panthers get their first loss. Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams. I think this is the highlight of the weekend. I know everybody's caught up with the New England and Tampa Bay game, and I got that. I ain't mad at you, but I think this is the game here because this is the game that's the winner of this game put themselves in the driver's seat for the division. This is the hottest division in football, people. This division. Being in the driver's seat of this division matters. It does matter. You want to be in the driver's seat of this. This might be the only division close to getting 4 teams into the playoffs if Seattle ever wakes up. Like, this is probably going to be the closest you get to that reality is from this division right here. Will it happen? Slim chances no, because Seattle probably going to play their way out of this. But this is the closest you get to that. And like you say, Arizona right now playing with house money. It might be fool's gold. But either way, for every win that they get, it's more fool's gold they get to play with, right? It's more chips they get to play with. Because, at the end of the day, if the Cardinals lose, okay, they were supposed to lose to the Rams. If they win, right, what are the Rams doing? Like, whoa, why did the Rams lose? Maybe the Cardinals are good. So they kind of in a win-win situation if you ask me. And then then they're going on the road for the Rams. So, and listen, Vegas only got this a 4-point game. So for those that think the Rams is just so much better than Arizona, clearly Vegas don't agree with you. Not saying Vegas know everything, but they know a lot. I think the Rams probably win this by a field goal. I do think it's a close game, but I can almost guarantee you this: we're gonna leave this game thinking like, hey, the Cardinals are for real. The Cardinals can play. They're going to be competitive in this division. And then the last game I wanted to hit on, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Like I said, listen. Oh, buddy. Hey, listen, it's what a time it is. You remember the times where the Steelers just was out here having their way with they had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and Big Ben gave a rip, and you had an offensive line that was pretty good, and Mike Tomlin, he was doing his thing, and Pittsburgh, the Steel City, hard workers. Oh, we looking good out here, baby. And about 5-6 years later, no one know where Le'Veon at. He's still trying out for some team. Antonio Brown finally getting his act together with Tampa Bay. Big Ben still ain't working out, and they say he hurt, but then he still play, and I don't know what that's about. And Pittsburgh is looking real shabby right now. They looking kind of shabby out there. The offensive line is terrible. It's almost like, what are we doing here when you draft the running back in the first round, which everybody agreed that was the running back you should have drafted in the first round if you was going to draft one. However, you kind of need people to block for him, or it's a wasted pick, because if he can't do anything, what was the point? What was the point? You might as well just drafted an offensive lineman. You might as well. And then drafted a lesser grade running back later in the draft. Because this is not going to cut it. All right? You got the Statue of Liberty back there, Big Ben. And then you got Najee Harris here. He can't even buy a hole to run through. He's sitting here at a machine trying to necessarily, can I get a hole to the left? Can I get a 32 dive hole? Can I get it? He ain't getting none of that. None of that. I mean, the man can't get no room to run the ball. Big Ben is stuck in the mud back there. The Steelers are in trouble. And then you got Green Bay. People are still on their case about the week 1 loss. They still on their case about that. Like, listen, we ain't forgot about the way y'all looked at week 1. Even though they've been looking like a different team since, it's still people. We seen what we seen, all right, Aaron? That was unacceptable. So I think, Vegas got them 6.5. That tells me that they think the Packers going to pull away at some point in this game, probably in the fourth quarter. They're going to get that. They're going to, get a possession lead at some point and probably just wind this clock out or whatnot. But I do think 6.5 show respect to the Steelers. A lot more respect to the Steelers than I would show them at this point. I would have been like 14 points in this thing because I'm telling you, because I think the Packers offense is good enough to move it against the Steelers defense, but I don't think the Steelers defense offense is going to be good enough to consistently move the ball against the Packers defense. And I'm not even enamored with the Packers defense. Matter of fact, I don't even care for the Packers defense. But I think it's good enough to stop this stymied, lackluster offensive line that Pittsburgh got. And they're going to force Big Ben to throw another 58 times. So good luck with that. So that's why I'm fascinated with that game. So, yeah, man, they're my quick hitters for week 4.